Wow. Hello, Klara. It
Hello.
is absolutely fantastic to see you. How are you? I was going to say this evening, it's afternoon for you, but how are you today?
I am wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. It's a
Very
really warm day for Ohio. It's 56 degrees.
okay.
So it's been
No, that's
nice.
nice. I guess I'm trying to emulate that in my background. But unfortunately, it's all wet and windy here in the UK at the moment, so not the best weather. But I've had
Uh,
a day off today, so I've chilled out a little bit and done some content for over the next couple of days, which is exciting. But this is all about you. So first and foremost, thanks very much for agreeing to come on and be part of the conversation on my YouTube channel. I appreciate that very much. Hopefully, you've checked out a few of the other conversations so you have a rough idea of what we're going to go through today. Um,
yes.
we'll take things slowly. We'll take things slowly to start off with. Before I come on, it's not something I've done before, but before I come on, I went and I actually checked out your Medium profile in terms of the About Me page, and I noticed that you've actually got nothing on there. So all that's on your About Me page is the year and the month you joined and your top writer awards. Is that something you consciously did? Have you avoided writing something about yourself, or is it something that you just didn't know existed and started writing?
Mm, I, I don't even think I knew it existed, actually.
Okay.
I don't remember ever being asked anything, any any questions, but I am kind of secretive
Yeah.
because of what I write or how I write. So, and then I don't think, maybe that's all that interesting about
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say it. I didn't actually bother with the About Me page either. I went onto a writing course and it was something that I was advised I should really do, so I did it.
Mm.
But to be honest, I probably all the writers that I follow, I've probably never gone onto any of their profiles and looked at their About Me page. But I just looked tonight before I come on, and there was nothing there, so I thought it'd be the first question I'd ask you. So for the audience that may not know you, heavens above. They should, but for anyone who doesn't know you, just tell us a little bit about when you joined Medium and the type of articles that you write.
Well, I am Claire Jane Holloway, and I have been on Medium for I think a little over a year, but I actually didn't um, write any decent stories until January of 2022, or maybe December of 2022, when my oldest daughter went missing. And I wrote an article that about her missing, and then an article about finding her alive, which was pretty miraculous. So I write a lot about my family, about my life, about things that have happened in my life, all all true stories. I tried fiction and I'm not very good at it, and I have written some poetry. I'm fair at that, but mostly I'm good at recalling things that have happened in my life and putting them down on paper. So I think that's why I got top writer in life and life lessons, because wow, I've had some life lessons I wish I'd never had.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the reasons that we connect, just because of the personal nature of some of the stories we write. I've gone away from that slightly over the last couple of months, but definitely something that attracted me towards your writing. Was that obviously the first article was very targeted and very well an emotional read, but did you always intend that if and when you started writing on the platform that you would specifically go down the personal route, or was it just something you went into because of the incident that happened?
No, I did not intend. I had no real idea what exactly I was going to do. But once I wrote that, then that opened this huge Pandora's box of this particular daughter's life, which has been extremely uh, crazy. So lots of stories evolved from that. And then I did try a couple fiction ones in between. and they bombed, in my opinion. So, so then I just stuck to real life stories and things that have happened to me or someone else. Or
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's yeah. I mean, I completely understand that. In terms of writing the personal stories, I write a little bit about personal stories. I mention my wife sometimes. I put my children in, but I never put their names in. That's just a pact I've got with my wife. I'd never show pictures or speak about their names in terms of my children. But when you write a personal story, um, how do you decide what publication you're going to put that in, if at all? So, what's your thought process? Do you tend to think of a story that's happened in your life and write it in a way that might attract a particular audience, a particular publication, or do you just write it and then select from there?
I always write it and then I select from there. So if almost always, if it's anything about love, I put it in What Is Love to You, just automatically. I love that publication. And I did a lot in New Writers Welcome, but then I decided I really shouldn't be doing that now that I've been around for a while. So I write the story and then I kind of think about, you know, I write a lot about addiction with my daughter and my ex-husband. And so I put that in Black Bear automatically. I just have some that are kind of my favorites. And but I've been shopping around lately at some of the different pubs and reading exactly what they're about and what I can maybe write to fit into those.
Okay. I mean, first and foremost, thanks for publishing in What Is Love to You. New Writers Welcome is probably a little bit of a misconception. I should really try and clear that up a little bit. New Writers Welcome is definitely targeting new writers. But if somebody's been on the platform for 10 years, they can still write for New Writers Welcome. It's just a publication to hopefully get people started, and then they can certainly come back. So it's not specifically for new writers, but we do encourage and help the new writers. Black Bear is something I've never come across. How long have you been writing there for? Tell me a little bit about that publication. I've not heard of it, so it's something that I'll check out after we come off here tonight.
Kiki Walter and Christopher Robin, they have just developed that, and it's about addictions, mental illness, uh, yeah, mostly that, and how they go together. And so it's been, I think, a very successful pub, and it's only been up for not very long, and it just struck me when I read it what it was about that, oh, I have a lot of stuff that would fit well in there. So
Yeah.
that's Black Bear. And she does describe it very nicely. If you know looked it up, where the Black Bear symbolization comes from.
Yeah, I know Kiki's a fantastic writer, so she generally makes a success of anything she does. So that's really good to hear, and I definitely will check it out. It may not be a publication that I probably would write for based on my own experiences,
Mm.
but what we'll do is we'll put the link on screen so everybody can have a little look at it, and hopefully we'll attract some more writers to that publication as well. That's fantastic. Okay. Do you ever get nervous or worried that because you write personal stories, that it will expose you or your family?
Yes, yes, I have. And I did go back and remove pictures of my family on a lot of sites or a lot of stories. And I actually deleted a couple not too long ago. One I wrote, it wasn't very nice, but it was true. It was a bad weekend I had, and went to this Bible study that turned into a fiasco. And I thought, oh my gosh, if one of these ladies ever really read, I never use anyone's real name, but I deleted it. And I do have one family member that does, you know, he looked for me. He knew an article, he knew I had written something with him in it, and he found it, and Googled it and found it. And, you know, he's sworn to secrecy by death if he tells anybody. But I have, and at times thought, oh, I am such a terrible person, but I'm writing the truth. Now, and when it comes to my oldest daughter and her addiction, she has given me carte blanche to write anything I want. And she does not care if I write negative or positive. She's really cool. When she was rehabbing last time, when she was had if she had made it to 3 months, I was getting her a Medium subscription and getting her laptop because I think she could write some great stories, but she did not make it that far. So she didn't get that. So with her, I probably write the most personal things, and she is okay with it. And she knows I'd let her read anything she wants, but she doesn't. I don't think she reads anything actually. But she has written some of her own, and I have forwarded them into stories that I have put in there when she was recovering. And Medium was, oh wow, amazing. The people on Medium wrote comments to her and an encouragement to her. And I think she started crying when she read them. She was in a nursing home at the time because recovering, she's got a lot of issues. So she was kind of stuck in this horrible nursing home, and reading those really uplifted her. So but other stories, there's only two other people I hope never read because I love them both very much, but they've they, they've kind of hurt me in the past, and I put it in there. So I guess I'd have to deal with that if that happened, though.
Yeah.
Someone came to me and said, "You wrote this horrible story about me."
Well, I guess you could always get out of it if you didn't use their real names. It could just be coincidence.
Yeah,
But,
yes, yes. And I have not ever used anyone's real name ever.
um, it sounds like that through your writing, you're getting a little bit of a release as well, if that's probably the right word. Um, you know, with a lot happening in your life, that must mentally affect you quite some bit. Would it be fair to say that writing helps maybe release some of those emotions,
Mhm.
or are you quite good at keeping those inside?
Most of the time, it does help, but some of the stuff I dredge up from too far back, I think, why am I doing this? Because it's just bringing it back to light. But for the most part, if I write, I do feel better because, friends do not want to hear this all the time. You're going to lose friends if you whine to them like I whine in some of my articles. They don't want to hear more. They have lives too, and everybody has something in their life. Everyone has a hurt or a heartache or, an issue. Nobody's life is just a piece of cake. So I write it, and I get all these comments from all kinds of different people that don't have to listen to me whine about it every day, and that does help me a lot,
It's funny you
especially.
mentioned that. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, especially with my daughter, because it's been so long since she's been started this like 29 years ago. So
Mm.
um, I don't talk to anybody about it. Most people don't even know I have a daughter that is out there in the world. That I have two other daughters too, but um, so I had quit talking about her at all. So bringing that into Medium and having many, so much encouragement, and also people that have been there, done that, and how they recovered or what happened, and just great stories. And that does help.
Yeah, I think a couple of things off the back of what you've just said. I found personally myself that Medium has been a little bit of a support network to me. So really, echoing what you're saying, I it's my belief that that support has really helped me as a person. With the personal stories I've written, sometimes I think they've been quite close to the bone. So sometimes when I've written, I've almost been a bit of ashamed about some of the stuff I've written, and I've I sometimes feel I'm gonna have to wear a hard helmet because some of these comments I'm gonna get are not gonna be nice, and you're just gonna have to live with these comments, Rob. But I found that on the whole, I have had some negative comments, but on the whole, the community's been really, really supportive. So I'm really, really pleased to hear that you've had that same experience as well. And the other thing, I guess, is it's a lot different to other social media platforms. I don't know whether you're on other platforms, but thinking some of the platforms that I'm on, and Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, everyone's world is perfect. Everyone shows their best side. There's never any issues, and I think that probably out of the 2,000 plus friends I've got on Facebook, 1,099 of those have got perfect lives, and that's what I like about Medium. Is the fact that you can open up to the community, and it's not all unicorns and flowers and rainbows, and there is another side to life, and it's something that I really admire about Medium, that you can say, hey, I'm not perfect, there are some things going on in my life. It's not all about that, of course, as you know, but the fact that you can get into a community that's supportive, I personally think is a major plus for the Medium platform. But okay, so I don't want to go too much into your background because I'm not sure how you feel about that. But tell me about your life growing up. Were you born in America? Did you go to school? Tell me.
I did go to school.
Okay.
I was born right here in Ohio. That picture behind me is the house I grew up in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had that painted, or I had that made for my parents. Oh, I don't know how many years ago. And then they passed away. I inherited the house and I inherited the picture. So, but that is not the house I live in right now. I did have to sell. But I had a wonderful family. I had one of those kind of like childhoods that, wow, I read these things on Medium and I think, holy cow, how did these kids survive their lives? We had a farm. We had hundreds of acres. My dad had animals, and he planted wheat and soybeans, and I had an older brother, an older sister, and a younger sister. We did things as a family all the time. We were not beaten. We were yelled at sometimes, but we had a lot of love in our family all the way until both my parents passed away. My mother just passed away a couple of years ago. And then now we're all like not quite so close as we were, but just really everybody wanted to come to my house because I lived on a farm and we had horses and cows and pigs and chickens and ducks and even a fox. So and then I went to Catholic school from first grade to graduating from high school, Catholic school all the way. And then went to college to become a nurse, and everything, except that my senior year of high school, I was pregnant when I graduated, quite unplanned for.
Yeah.
And my parents absolutely loved this guy. And I didn't want to get married. And he promised me he'd back me up and tell my parents, no, we can't get married. We're going to have to give the baby up for adoption, whatever. But that never happened. He loved my dad, and if my dad said jump, he said how high. So we got married, and he's a wonderful man. We had a beautiful daughter. Then we had three beautiful daughters actually, and then we split up after about 12 years. But we remained friends until the day he died, which was 6-7 years ago. And that was probably the worst thing that happened to me in my life. Was having to get married and not getting to go off to college with all my friends and that kind of thing. But that is like nothing compared to the things I've read on Medium. Oh, I am so shocked sometimes at what these writers have gone through and lived through. even some of your stories are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've led a colourful life. So yeah, there's plenty more of those to come. I'm just finding the time to write them. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, I can't imagine growing up on a farm. To me, that would probably be awesome in one respect. But in another respect, I'm the guy who played rugby for my country, didn't like get my hands dirty. So yeah, you know, it's kind of one of those. I'd love to live on the farm and everything that goes with it. I've done some horse riding. I'm not a great horse rider, but I've done some horse riding animals. I absolutely love. I'm definitely affectionate towards animals. But maybe I'm getting the wrong perception of it. But living on a farm with all the mud, and I'm not sure I could do it. I'm not sure I could do it. As my
Mm.
mum would say, I'm a pretty boy. Maybe not so much now, but growing up, perhaps I was. So, but it's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. I mean, do you have many animals around now? I know you're not on the farm now, but are you a pet lover?
I have one really bad cat that I write about all the time, and I locked her in the back room because she would be climbing on top of me and going on the keyboard and sitting on my head, and I I can't do anything with this cat. No one will ever take her. If I took her back to the APL, they would have to euthanize her because she's so mean and horrible to everybody but me. And that's the only animal I have right now. But growing up, we did have chores and we did get muddy and we did get dirty and we did have some horrible jobs. And at one time, my dad raised pigs. I wrote an article about it because if this had happened now, we'd be in court. The neighbors would have us in court because of the smell. It was so horrible. And but my brother, my poor older, he was the only boy and he got stuck with all the work. And we're 6 years apart and I didn't realize how miserable he was growing up. He said my dad would make him stay home on a Saturday just in case he needed him to help him. And so when my brother got to high school, he rebelled a bit. As soon as he turned 18, he joined the army. He knew he was going to go to Vietnam. He went to Vietnam. He didn't care. He just had to get away and he never came back home. He came back home, but he never moved back to Ohio, never came back to, and up until the day my father died, they were at odds just because my brother felt so put up like a, I don't know, it was bad for him. But I didn't know because I was 6 years younger, and I thought we had this idealistic, wonderful life. So, but yes, there were chores, a lot of chores, and a big, huge lawn. You can see in that picture. That's just the front. It would take 4 hours to cut that grass, and we had to do it every week. And so, yeah, big deal though. Like I said, those kind of things compared to the amazing things we got to do and the fun things we got to do. And probably one of the worst things was that we did get close to our animals. We had Black Angus cattle and uh, all kinds of different cattle. And then, one day we came home and one would be gone. And then we would have have that one on our plate a few weeks later. So it was, we got used to that kind of thing and didn't whine too much about it. Sometimes we'd make a joke like, oh, is this Daisy? One of our pigs. But, growing up on a farm, you learn that the dogs die, the cats die, the animals die or get taken away. And it's just
Did
part of farm life.
did that at any point upset you?
No, it never did. When my
No.
dogs got killed out in the
Yeah.
road, we lived on a highway. It was actually a,
Oh,
a state highway. We were back far off the road, so it wasn't too bad, but there were almost every dog we had got killed out there.
yeah,
So I would feel sad about that. But
yeah,
the other animals, we knew better.
yeah.
Don't get attached.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Tell me a little bit about how you started writing.
I started writing when I was in grade school, and I kept getting poor grades on book reports. And my dad would read them and say, no wonder these are crap. He wouldn't say that though. He would say, oh, go and write a really decent book report. So I would go and write this like 3-page book report, practically rewrite the whole book, and I'd get A's. I mean, it really was kind of stupid, but I started writing stories by rewriting stories because my dad told me to do that. Then I started writing poetry. And in junior high, I wrote a whole huge book of poetry. And the last day of school, I left it in my locker. And my mother flipped out about it and went up and made them open up the school so I could get my poem book out of my locker. So my parents were very supportive. Then when I was reading on Medium, I thought, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. And I read Medium a lot before I actually joined. And I did take a class when I first started. I won't mention whose class it was, but he was excellent and taught me at least how to put a story together, or put, the title and the subtitle. And then I wrote some stories that nobody hardly read. Then, like I said, I wrote the story about my daughter, and that was just an outpouring because it was Christmas Day. She didn't show up. She'd always showed up on Christmas Day. And my granddaughter, who was 17 at the time, said, I haven't heard from my mom for weeks. Then we all got in a panic and developed, we made 2 posses that were going out the next day to look for her. When I went home that night, and I thought, oh this is my worst nightmare. And wrote that story. And that was very, very, very popular, writing about her addiction and her missing. I got a lot of comments on that, and I did get some negative comments. Some people blamed me. And so my next article I put on, right at the top, I've been criticized enough and I've been hurt enough. So if you don't have anything nice to say, don't read this article or don't comment, please. And it worked. It worked. And that was really how I started writing. I have a book my sister just gave me yesterday, how to write a book for dummies, because I've always been going to write a book. And my daughter and I were going to write chapters, like her chapter, my chapter, her chapter, her take on what happened, my take on what happened. It would be super interesting.
Yeah.
But she's just never gotten off drugs enough to, well, she was off for 10 years and had 2 children and got married and I never thought she'd go back, but she did, and we never got our book written. Maybe we still will.
I hope you do. I hope you do. I have started writing too, but they've gone by the wayside. But no, I definitely hope you do. Obviously, wishing your daughter the best as well. It must be tough. I've never gone through anything like that, so not something I can really comment on. But I obviously wish you very, very well. Talking about relationships, I hope you don't mind me saying, you probably will, you look very glamorous tonight. It's the first time I've seen you. I've seen some pictures, but the first time I've seen you, very, very glamorous. How are you single?
I wish I knew. I got remarried. I had the 3 little girls, and I was about 30, and I met my husband at a Bible study. And he had never been married. He was a couple years younger. He took me on with my daughters. He had a lot of learning to do, but he did really good at it. And we had a really good marriage for 27 years. Why am I not with someone? I want a man of God. I really believe in God, and I hope I don't offend anybody talking about this, but I want a man who goes to church, who loves God, and gets into the Bible. And it's not easy to find that kind of guy.
I think it's good. I think it's good that you have that. I think you should set standards. I don't think you should fall below the standards. I think that people have a need for things in their life, and why should you compromise? I don't believe you should. And if that's your standards, I think you should have them 100%. I think if you start to give in's the wrong word, compromise probably better. If you compromise on too many of your standards, it's probably just not worth being in that relationship. So no, I completely agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree.